Yo, what is up folks, ShepTG here, bringing you a Pioneer meta check, and I'm looking at the format as we just had a bunch of regional championships in Asia, in Canada, and in South America, and it's the first time we're going to see like really big tournaments with the Lost Caverns of Ixalan cards for Pioneer, and we see what decks actually did well, whether Discover combo and some of the new combo shenanigans have really risen to the top, and what decks are performing. So let's get into it. If you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Starting things off with the South America Regional Championship, we have the top 8 here. The tournament was won by Geological Razor Combo in the hands of Goethe. These are standings after Swiss. However, I can tell you that Goethe did win, and in the finals played against Santiago Bugatti. So Amalia Combo and Geological Appraiser Combo, two new decks out of Lost Caverns, making the finals of the Regional Championship here. I'll go through each of these deck lists to kind of highlight any new cards. Let's start off at the bottom with Ragdoll Sacrifice. So, in terms of the actual list, very standard Red Black Sacrifice, I believe. Nothing really spicy here. In the sideboard, we see two copies of the new Bitter Triumph. One in a black, additional cost to cast, discard a card, or pay 3 life, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Really nice removal spell. And that's pretty much the only new thing here. So that very standard Red Black Sacrifice has been very dominant in the Pioneer format for quite a while. There are then two different Azorius control decks. So we have Kristen's, I'm going to butcher these names, I'm really sorry. Christian Valenzuela, on Azorius control, and this is a Yorion build, which we'll have a look at. Yorion, Sky Nomad in the sideboard here, and yeah, full 4 of Teferi, Wandering Emperor, Omen of the Sea, obviously these kind of things you would expect. In terms of actual kind of new cards, there's one card of Restless, copy of Restless Anchorage, accompanying 2 copies of Hall of Storm Giants as kind of man lands in your mana base, which is pretty nice. Get Lost, the new white removal spell from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. Its controller makes 2 maps. And in fact, the other blue-white control deck in top 8 was also playing this. As far as the sideboard goes, nothing too spicy. So, pretty nice to see Yorion Azorius. And then the other Azorius control deck in the top 8 was a Lotusfield build, going 6-0-2 in the hands of Giulio Bejarano Espejo. Discontinuity Lotusfield build of blue-white control. I love to see in this counter, again, 3 copies of Get Lost, and a single copy of Dig here, which has become, I think, 1 Dig is now pretty standard for blue-white control. Again, 1 copy of Restless Anchorage, the new Manland, but hey, pretty awesome blue-white stuff. The other thing here that I want to mention is 4 copies of Sunken Citadel. It's a really interesting land. We've seen it come up in Modern with the Cabal Coffers, right? But you can use this to activate Cabal Coffers as like a standalone land. But here you can use it with things like, where is it? Thespian Stage, and so you're using 1 land to activate Thespian Stage, which is pretty nice. It's also pretty nice activating things like Manlands, just makes them a little bit cheaper. Castle Vantris, pretty awesome, 1 Ragdoll Sacrifice, 2 different Azorius control decks. We have then 1 copy of Mono White Humans. Again, the main thing to point out here, I think, is there's 3 copies of Get Lost, this new white room spell cropping up everywhere, getting humans as well, alongside your kind of like usual fare of mono white creatures. Other than that, pretty standard mono white in the hands of Joaquin Fuentes. 1 copy of a mono green Devotion. It takes a lot for something new to kind of penetrate into the mono green Devotion shell. It's just so consistent already. And hey, look, we got 3 Pelucanosis here, but this is very much a standard mono green fare. We've got 4 Khan, 4 Kiora, 4 Storm the Festival, bunch of mana and stuff to do. Anything new in the package here? The one thing I'm looking for is if they had a the 6 mana your spells can't be countered and the step Discover. I was like, oh, maybe that's something you put in a card board, but nope. But hey, Benjamin Very, congratulations. So that leaves us with Rona combo, interesting, and then the Amalia combo and Geological Appraiser combo lists. So Rona, a combo deck that's been around for a little while in Pioneer, is missing some parts on Arena, so you can't quite play an Explorer yet, but this is a Yorion version of the deck. I believe Samuel Estrati has kind of popularized a really like hybrid combo version where you're playing Luca as well, and that's what I think this is doing. So you've got like Luca, which you can use to go and grab Atraxa with some of your creatures. You've got a Calm package, you've got Yorion, and then you also have like actual Rona combo. So Rona in combination with Retraction Helix here, and a 0-mana artifact, such as Mox Amber, lets you kind of go off. A bunch of stuff going on here. You've got like Valky, like Spring to Lights. There's so much going on, tons of moving parts, but nothing super new here. Pretty awesome anyway. But again, very much a known thing. And then the last two lists are probably the most spicy. So in the finals, Santiago Bagatti on Amalia combo, and then Gyote, who actually won on Geological Appraiser combo. Let's have a look at the Amalia combo list first. This is actually the deck I'm less familiar with. I do have a video hopefully coming out this week with it on the channel, but this uses the new Amalia Benavides Aguirre 2/2 ward, pay 3 life, but whenever you gain life, Amalia explores and then destroy all of the creatures if its power is exactly 20. When you gain life explores, combos with Wild Growth Walker, which says whenever you control explores, it gets a counter and you gain 3 life. The life gain trigger triggers Amalia, triggers Wild Growth Walker. You kind of get the idea. There's a few other things going on in here. We've got Prosperous Innkeeper as another source of life gain that also kind of accelerates you mana-wise. There's Gilded Goose, Lunarch Veteran, another kind of like Soul Sister kind of effect. The Scout, just a cheap explore effect. You have Dina Soul Steeper, which is a sacrifice outlet that also says whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. This lets you actually use the Amalia combo to kill your opponent. A Selfless Savior as a bit of protection, and then some kind of support for the combo. So 4 copies of Return to the Ranks to bring back all CMC to less cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. 4 copies of Call Recording, and 4 copies of Collected Company to kind of find your pieces. Really powerful combo deck. I'm going to do a video on this separately later this week. But awesome to see something new, really taking the format by storm. Sweet, sweet. Yeah. Looking forward to playing some with this. And then the deck that actually won the tournament, Geological Appraiser combo. Top of the Swiss, and also breezed through top 8. Karuga is pretty standard here, because the idea here is you're playing Discover. You can't play anything with CMC 3 or less in your deck anyway, because you'd hit it. And so, CMC less than 3 in your deck, so Karuga is pretty much free. The combo, if you're not familiar, you have Geological Appraiser, enter the battlefield, you discover 3, you're going to go discover some copy effects, and then eventually hit an Eldritch Evolution. Eldritch Evolution will find you a Trumpeted Carnosaur. Carnosaur lets you discover, you have some more clone effects with where is it? Glasspool Mimic here. You're going to kind of like do that for a bit more, and then you're going to Eldritch Evolution for a Doomstar Titan, which gives them all haste, and +1/+0, and then you have enough power in play to kill your opponent. There's some other little variations in here. I do have a video out on this deck, and also the Quintorius combo version of the Discovery deck as well. Please do check those out. You can also do things like Evolution the Carnosaur away, get Gouter if you've got things stuck in hand. And one of the new innovations is Torrential Gearhulk, which you can find. And now this flashes back instance, which is really important because you're playing some cool instance in order to enable you to combo earlier. So Creative Outburst and Magma Opus both discard to create treasure tokens. Those are both pretty powerful instants in your graveyard, and flashing these back with Torrential Gearhulk will often just win you the game anyway. Interaction wise, for starters, the Carnosaurs can discard to kill things. You've got the Sky Turtle here, which we've seen in some of these lists. You can use it to bounce something, or even use it as a regrowth effect, which is pretty nice. 3 copies of Browsers removal. But this version of the combo deck has been doing really, really well. We've seen some new adaptations over the last week, so I'm probably going to put out another video on kind of the newer versions of the Discover combo decks. Really, really awesome list here, and congratulations, Gyote, for taking down the South America Regional Championships. Next up, we are in Canada for the Face-to-Face Tour Championship, the Regional Championship in Toronto. You see the top 8 here. The first thing you'll notice is there is a ton of Phoenix. In fact, 5 Phoenix decks in total, including Harfam, who eventually won with Grixis Phoenix. We'll start with Rakdos again, though, with Cargolet. Rakdos midrange is a staple of the format, but one is kind of, I wouldn't say fallen off, but it's definitely kind of taken a bit of a downswing in popularity, either to its sacrifice counterpart, which has become a bit more popular, or to just other decks. In terms of new stuff, Archfiend of the Dross is something that's started to become pretty standard. 1 or 2 copies I've seen in some lists. Allows you to get like a really nice angle versus sacrifice where you land it in play. That whatever opponent's creature controls dies effect lets you put on a ton of pressure, outside of being a 4-mana 6/6 flyer by itself anyway. Other things here, we've got 2 copies of Bitter Triumph as a really, really versatile removal spell. Destroy target creature, Planeswalker 4 and a black. A lot of the time the 3 life doesn't matter, or you can discard a card. That's fine. Maybe you get Crocs in the graveyard, get it back later if you've not got time to play it out. Other thing to note here, 2 copies of Torch the Tower. Again, more exile removal, kind of really seems a little tuned versus sacrifice even, perhaps. Nothing really new in the mana base, just 1 copy of Mutavault. And then in the sideboard, we do see a Necromancer. That's probably the most interesting thing here. Maybe a little shout out to these new Discover combo decks. I'll go through the non-Phoenix decks first, and we do have 2 other Geological Appraiser combo decks. So let's take a look here. Larry Boans. This is the Appraiser version of the deck. Mimic, Carnosaur again, we've seen this before. You've got the one of Galta, you've got the Doomscar Titan to give everything haste. 3 Torrential Gearhulks here. Really all in on being able to use these spells from the graveyard. We have Magma Opus, we have Creative Outburst. I believe you can also flashback the Bedazzle half here of the deck, which I didn't mention before, which is destroy target non-basic land. Hey, if it works, it works. And 3 copies of Connive Concoct as well. It's like you can do things out of your graveyard. Pretty cool. Outside of that, kind of much of what we've seen before. It's got the temples here, kind of scrying, getting the early kind of card selection in, which has become a nice innovation that I really like. And also 2 copies of Cavernous Souls to get these praises down uncounterable, which is really nice. And in the sideboard, we've got 4 copies of Thought Distortion. This is the kind of hoser that you use to kind of be like, alright, I've got my 1 card combo. This takes away all your opponent's counter spells, all their removal spells. Just super awesome. It's also just kind of if you play against control, it's just incredible anyway. 4 copies of Mirror Shell Crab. This is really cool. I've written a nice innovation here. This is a counter spell that you can play. Of course, you can't have anything with CMC 3 or less in your deck, apart from the Eldritch Evolutions and the Glasspool Mimics. Mirror Shell Crab, see, 7 mana, but channel ability, 2 and a blue to discard to counter a spell or ability. Does both, and also obviously can't be like interrupted by counter magic back the other way because it's just an ability. Very nice. I guess it does counter itself. 3 copies of Shark Typhoon, which is something I was actually surprised to not see earlier in these decks, just because it's a nice thing you can play, make some sharks, and then 1 copy of Challenger Awakened Inferno. Can't be countered. Another threat versus control, which I think the main thing here, but also can be like a Wrath versus some of the other decks. Let's have a look at the other appraiser list. So that was Larry Buzan, the other appraiser list on Jean-Philippe Goyer. Karuga, actually the other list that we just saw did not have Karuga in, which has been pretty much a staple in all these decks, but the extra sideboard slot is, hey, valuable. Like, you are actually giving something up to play the companion. It doesn't often come up in the actual matches. Again, you've got the Appraiser, the Carnosaur, the Glasspool Mimics, you've got the Eldritch Evolutions here, but this is kind of a bit of a hybrid where they're playing Leyline Binding here with a 5-color mana base alongside Greater Tanuki as like an accelerant, rather than going like they still have Magma Opus and Creative Outburst. So we're seeing more acceleration with Tanuki rather than playing into something like Torrential Gearhulk. 2 copies of Colossal Sky Turtle for interaction and also some recursion. You've got the Doomscar. You don't actually have the Galta, which is an interesting choice. Galta's a really nice one because, hey, not only is it allowed to get like a big dinosaur, but if you end up drawing the Doomscar Titan, you can go find Galta off of an evolution and put it into play from hand, which is pretty nice. There is 1 Torrential Gearhulk here, so the last list we still had 3. 5-color mana base, no Cavernous Souls here, and you are kind of paying a little bit of a price. Like, you're not often going to be able to turn 3 the combo if you've got so many tap lands, and you also need blue-red hybrid, the blue-red higher end, or cycling Magma Opus or Outburst. But hey, the upside of Leyline Binding is definitely really big. Again, the sideboard, Thought Distortion, a couple of copies of Vanquish the Horde here as a neat Wrath. 2 copies of Shepherd Monitor, which is something we saw in Yuki Ichikawa's list from last weekend. He is playing the Quintorius version of the combo, which looks a little bit different, but the same kind of concept here where you're trying to get up on mana, cycling. I don't know, obviously you can find basics with this to fix for Leyline Binding, but hey, you get to cycle this, get the basic land, get a card, get ahead on mana, which can help a lot. 2 copies of Hornlock Whale, which is an interesting one. Some interaction, so the Green Breach here is 1 and a blue, target attacking creature, top or bottom of its library, and is also like a threat. There's also a Swamp here, which I would guess this either comes in alongside the Thought Distortions or with the Shepherd Monitors to kind of shore you up in terms of casting. Oh, you've only got 1 Swamp in the main deck, so you want to board into a second Swamp so you can find it with Tanuki to let you cast Thought Distortion. That makes sense. Alright, cool. And now let's have a look at Phoenix. Phoenix is a deck that has really risen in popularity and kind of risen in metagame share. It is if you look on Gold by Goldfish, it is, I think, the most played deck in the format. I know that Halfam actually did win with Grixis. We've got some blue red lists to look at. We'll see how similar these actually are. and how much time we want to spend on each of them. The main innovation, or the most recent like large innovation for Phoenix, has been Picklock Prankster. Has this free the Fae, 1 in a blue instant to mill 4 cards and then put an instant sorcery or fairy from among them into your hand. Helps you find Phoenix, netting you cards into your graveyard without actually sacrificing cards in your hand. Helps you find something like Treasure Cruise as well. Obviously, it enables Treasure Cruises too, which is awesome. And then, hey, you get a 2-mana flyer if you need it later on. Other than that, Arclight Phoenix are going to be nice. We see the cantrips here with Sleight of Hand and Consider, along with Opt. Otherworldly Gaze, this is something that started getting played more after the last set of regionals, where someone, I don't know if they won or made top 8 with a Demi-Lich Phoenix deck, and then Otherworldly Gaze has basically been in the deck ever since. Like, everything here is fairly standard. You've got your 4 cruisers, etc., etc. In the sideboard, some Drakes here, Brotherhood's End, and there's a bit of a Wrath. 2 copies of Saheeli, the Prime Artificer, as like an alternate win con. Just like cast a bunch of spells, make a bunch of tokens. Narcissist Reverse is an interesting one. I was interested to see if blue-white decks start playing this as like a way to, hey, if you're getting Thought Distortion, you can just like Thought Distortion them back. It's not actually that useful, but I was like, interesting. So let's go Edgar Megalesh. This is a bit of a different build with Ledger Shredder and Arclight Phoenix. No fairies to be seen. We have the traditional kind of piece of the puzzle. You've got Sleight of Hand, only 3 Treasure Cruise, but also playing Temporal Trespass here, which is kind of like what you would traditionally do in Phoenix. So a more traditional Phoenix deck, I think. Opt, Fiery Impulse, Lightning Axe, like, hey, you've still got the Galvanic Iterations here, which kind of combo with Trespass and Cruise. Disruption, which is an interesting shout, to be honest. But Draw Disruption giving you like a turn 2 counterspell is pretty handy, especially when you're kind of like building up resources to bring Phoenixes back, but then also wanting to have like interaction on turn 3 or 4 for this new combo deck. Pretty cool. A Prismari Command, a Spell Pierce. Fair enough. All 4 Crackling Drakes at the sideboard. Obviously, only the 4 Arclight Phoenix and Shredders in the main deck, so a little threat light. See another reversal here, another Prismari Command, and the 4th Treasure Cruise, which is interesting. Yeah, 2 more Blue-Red Phoenixes, and then the winning Grixis Phoenix list. So, Ryan Primdall here. Ooh, from threat light to, hey, even more. So, 4 Phoenix, 4 Shredder, and a Picklock Prankster. So you could have like, alright, you got your Phoenixes, and then some combination of either Thing in the Ice, Ledger Shredder, Picklock Prankster. We also see a Brazen Warrior here as well. 1 Temporal Trespass, but still on the 4 Treasure Cruise, which I think honestly makes the most sense. It's the best card in the deck to some extent. We're about to get onto Arena, thankfully. 1 Joy Disruption, only 1 iteration, kind of less in on the Trespass, on the kind of Trespass extra turns plan in general. Again, the sideboard, we've got the Drakes. Got another Brazen Borer here. Everything's kind of fairly standard, some disdainful strokes. Okay. Again, these lists are going to look reasonably similar. The last is a Phoenix list here from Max Door. Phoenix, Shredder, Prankster, 4 Sleight of Hand, 4 Treasure Cruise. Okay. 1 Torture Tower, the only kind of real difference here. A couple of Visit Charms, again, decent interaction. Hey, look, there's a mana base. Brazen Borers on the sideboard. Again, everyone seems to have this 1 Narcissist Reversal. But yeah, like, very, very solid Phoenix. This deck, I think, gets underrespected a bit. And kind of, yeah, it does have some like struggles where it and Greasefang both fall to graveyard hate. We've not seen any Greasefang at all here, actually, which is pretty interesting. Let's have a look at the Grixis list that did win. So, Half-Am here. 4 Phoenix, 4 Shredder, 4 Prankster, and 2 Sheoldred. Sheoldred obviously really good. You've got a bunch of cantrips. It also gives you access to some nice early removal. The red removal is great. Fatal Push, also good. 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Treasure Cruise. Thoughtseize, being able to like Thoughtseize yourself for Arclight Phoenix. I have posted like a blue-black Phoenix list, but Grixis is another kind of way looking at that. Some of the same cards. All 4 copies of Bit of Triumph here. Removal spell. Again, that discardability is a nice one when you get to use it to like actually dump stuff into the graveyard you want to, and being able to like, hey, kill your thing, put my Phoenix in the bin. Pretty powerful. 1 Cling to Dust, which is some graveyard hate, but it's also like a cantrip and is nice to the Phoenix. Sideboard, Dark Betrayal, a card I've not seen, I think, since like Theros standard. Some Saheelis, again, kind of go wise, make a bunch of tokens, some go blanks here, which actually gives you a bit of an edge in the mirror as well. A single copy of Ritualist Soot. You can see the black sideboard cards really like paying into having good sweepers. 1 copy of the End, which I really like. Just like, hey, especially in the mirror, if you get to exile the Phoenix and just exile all of them from everywhere, pretty great. And then again, we do have that one copy of Narset's Reversal. So, congratulations to Half. But you can see here, in kind of like a different way, tons of Phoenix at the top 8 here. I don't know how far down we'd have to go to find a green Spanglist. There is a mono green deck in 9th. But yeah, don't forget about Phoenix, and definitely one that's going to get a lot better on Arena as well as we get cards to talk here. Alright, last set of results we're going to look at, and that is from the Japan Regional Championships here. Bit of a diverse top 8, more diverse than the ones we've seen before, and was in the end won by Yuya Hasakawa with blue-white control. This top 8's got a bit of everything. We'll go through the control list last. There is Azorius Field here too. Let's start off with Boros Convokes. We've not actually seen this yet, and there have been, I think, some new adaptations from Suichi Hasegawa. Pretty standard fare, like cheap creatures, reinforcements. You've got the 4 Knight and 4 Venerated Loxodon, which make the deck. 3 copies of Warden of the Inner Sky, which is a new addition. So, 1 mana, 1/2. 3 or more counters on it, it gets Flying and Vigilance. Tap 3 untapped artifacts or creatures. Put a +1/+1 counter on it and scry 1. Gives you a way to kind of like look for your Venerated Loxodon, but then also your low power creatures, you can kind of just like pump some taps into this. Is also choosing to play Thalia in the main deck, which is an interesting choice and actually a really interesting meta choice right now, with the rise of these Geological Appraiser combo decks, because they need to pay mana to actually cast their Eldritch Evolutions if you've got a Thalia in play. 3 Recruiter here. As you're kind of like, I'm going to put all my stuff into play and then give it all haste. And 2 copies of Giant Killer as well, some tutorable removal. And 1 copy of Get Lost, a new white removal spell here as well. In the sideboard, 2 more copies of Get Lost. We have 2 copies of Guardian of Faith, giving you a way to kind of save your board versus control, which is pretty awesome. A couple of torches, some winning announcements. This is all kind of reasonable. The choice to play Thalia in the main deck, I think, really, really strong, and has become a bit more popular in these decks overall. Then let's have a look. We've got 1 Rakdos mid-range list. Here we see 2 Arcfiends. You've got your 2 Sheoldred, Trespasser, Bloodtide Harvester, Bunker Giant, full 4 Reckoner Bankbuster, and 2 copies of Duress. We normally maybe see 1. I mean, the differences are very, very minor, really. Roxas in the sideboard, not in the main deck, is kind of interesting, but nothing too fancy here. Let's just kind of move on. Then let's have a look at Jinsung Ryu's Rona Luca combo deck. Now, I believe this isn't the Yorion version. We are on 68 cards, which is a cool number, but hey, enough's enough. We've seen, thanks to Modern and Up the Beanstalk, that you can just play however many cards you want, really. 4 copies of Tyvar, kind of really all in on kind of Rona and getting the combo as fast as possible. Some nice recursion here too. And then 3 copies of Luca with 2 copies of Atraxa to kind of have this alternate path to win the game. Only 2 copies of Karn, so it's like modeled off the same style of decks we saw earlier with Rona Luca combo, but reducing the numbers, being a little bit more consistent, but giving up on the Yorion in there. Kin for acceleration. You have your Ronas with Retraction Helix, with Mox Amber, and you still have the Bring to Light here. Squirming Emergence is a new piece here. It returns a non-land permanent card in your graveyard to the battlefield, as long as you have enough permanents in your graveyard, and 1 copy of Extinction Event as well. Things to get things in your graveyard here, obviously going to be drawing, discarding, potentially off of Rona, the actual loot ability kind of built into the card. You have Tyvar as well, which you can mill yourself with. This is all pretty exciting. Like, hey, Rona combo stuff, trimming down on cards a little bit, still playing 68, but really, really solid list by the looks of it. Always interesting when this brings light decks like, hey, do you want to play 80 cards? How valuable actually is the Yorion? And here you see, like, hey, they have the like 4th copy Retraction Helix here. Obviously, this is tuned to use Karn of the Grim Creator in the sideboard here as well. Alright, so 1 more Boros Convoke list, which I'll put up here, but I expect these look very, very similar, so I won't spend too much time on it. In the hands of Katari Shiki. They are playing Gigantha, whereas this before was not. But yeah, Throman Inspector, Epicure, they've got the Gleeful Demolitions. They are also playing Thalia. Only 3 Ornithopters is a bit of an interesting one. I always feel like the free spells are free and they're kind of what make the deck work, but hey, 4 copies of Infinite Recruiter here, and they are also on 4 copies of Warden of the Inner Sky, which has really made a home for itself in these decks. In the sideboard, 2 copies of Get Lost, none of those in the main deck, and yeah, like Janeth Magistrate, another great card versus these silly Discover decks. And so, hey, nice. Let's carry on going. We have Geological Appraiser combo, which you've seen a bunch of in the hands of Mitsuhiko Nakao. Again, a Kruger build here, and we are seeing the Torrential Gear Hulks. You are still seeing the Golta here at least. But it seems so free to put it into play. And then also, if you're gear hulking anyway, hey, maybe you have a gear hulk in hand and get to do even more stuff. Repudiate, Replicate, I really, really like. This is like a stifle effect. Blue-green hybrid, counter-target activated or triggered ability. Pretty handy. If you ever get to like a Fable passage and get the old like classic stifle your fetch, it feels really, really good. The nice thing here is that while it is CMC 5, and so you can actually hit this off of Carnosaur, the sorcery half replicate does let you just make another Carnosaur and go and discover again. Other than that, like that, there you have your Eldritch Evolution plus combo stuff. In this, and you are seeing 3 copies of Cavern of Souls here, even more. This is the most we've seen, leaning a little bit heavier into green as well, with like Temples of Abandon. In the sideboard, we're going to see a full 4 copies of Shepherd Monitor. Again, man advantage, with 3 copies of Dragon Lord Jamoka. Stop your opponent casting spells during your turn. It can't be countered. It's also massive, like flying life-linking threat. Pretty awesome. But hey, it's a massive hoser versus control. 2 more copies of Repudiate as well. The 4th the Basil. 1 copy of C double here, which is kind of interesting. So because this creates a copy of a creature you control, you can play this while still being able to combo. You get a copy of spell, depending on what they're actually doing. Copy of spell as well, not like an instant sorcery. Could just be a creature. Pretty neat. 1 copy of Greater Tanuki, which I guess comes in alongside the Shepherd Monitors. A Hornblock Whale, like we saw earlier, and a Plains here comes in, I imagine, with all the Shepherd Monitors, so you've got enough basics to kind of search for. You're going into this like big mana plan, and then you're going to use these to accelerate you into Dragon Lord Jamoka versus bear decks and control stuff to stop them being able to interact with your combo. All pretty cool. This video is going to be quite long, actually, I realise. So we have Giant Transmogrify with Khan the Great Creator. Is a Gigantalist. You have the 2 Atraxas, which is what you're transmogrifying for, and then kind of, hey, you've got the briefcases, which make tokens for you and also accelerate you mana-wise. You've got Chariots. There's a Bankbuster here, which can make a Citizen. You've got these Careful Cultivations, which cycle to not only, hey, make a creature, but make a creature that also accelerates you mana-wise. The Fables, of course, is a Gigantalist. They're playing 4 copies of Thoughtseize and a copy of Duress to help protect their combo. And then, of course, the 4 copies of Transmogrify to actually, hey, go find the Atraxa. Interaction here. Torch Tower, go for the throw, bit of Triumph, Fatal Push. Okay, nice. This is a mana base. There's a Mirax and a Mutavault in here and some creature lands that you can Transmogrify away. And then the sideboard, opting for Radiant Flames is a sweeper choice. And then, hey, you got some Go Blanks, more hand disruption here, as well as Void Winnower. You can Transmogrify for this if it's like a Hoser versus the deck you're playing against rather than the Atraxa. One notable thing with the Void Winnower, though, your opponent can't cast spells with even converted mana costs, which includes things like Geological Appraiser, Trumpeting Carnosaur. All those Discover cards can't be cast when you have a Void Winnower in play, and so this just absolutely hoses that deck, which is actually really cool to see. And then we have the 2 control decks, so you have Yuta Yakokawa with Azorius Field, and Yuya Asakawa, who I believe won the tournament with Azorius Control. So let's go through the field deck first. Are they playing the new Cave? I don't believe so, but they are playing the, obviously, Lotus Field Thespian Stage strategy here. But kind of the what you'd expect to see is Discontinuity Field, using this to kind of stop your having to sacrifice lands. You've got Get Lost here, full 4 copies. 4 copies of Tails, and as your extra kind of stifle effect on the Lotus Field sacrifice trigger. And then, hey, you got your blue-white control deck. Pretty awesome. Trying to see if there's anything exciting in the sideboard. 2 copies of Regal Caracal, which is fairly common, I think. And a copy of Test of Talents here, which is like a counter, and then exile all copies for instant sorcery, which is, hey, pretty neat. And then winning the tournament, we have Azorius Control. I often think that in a format where you can kind of like, you know what you're expecting, or can kind of tune for certain decks, Control's a good place to be, especially if your opponent's trying to resolve like 1 spell. We've seen like there are good hoses for Control in the format, but hey, very solid. We've got our 3 Wandering Emperor, 3 Teferi Hero Dominaria with 3 Typhoon. Okay, some new cards here, the 4 copies of Get Lost, a full 4 Memory Deluge, interesting, and then yeah, 3 Vetoes in the main deck, 3 Absorbs. Change the equation, which I think has gained some equity a little bit. Interaction here with Soul Petition to go alongside the Get Lost as well. So a bunch of 4-mana draw spells because they're playing a Behold of the Multiverse here as well. Full 4 copies of Restless Anchorage, the new mana land. But hey, and 3 copies of Field of Ruin, but no Yorion here, and no Field either. In the sideboard, 3 copies of Kitzel's Flanker, which is the new Flash Cat Warrior from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, which can XL graveyards, getting you some life and scry. Just put a beat down, because your opponent is not expecting you to get aggressive out of blue white control, so hey, you can turn the tides that way. The main thing here, I think, is actually graveyard interaction, kind of taking your opponent by surprise. 3 copies of Summary Dismissal. Exile all other spells and counter all abilities. Whether they think you're gonna play against some like cast trigger shenanigans. This is where Summary Dismissal excels. If there's a spell and there's a cast trigger as well. So for example, like old Cascade, where the actual Cascade was a cast trigger, Summary Dismissal would take care of all that stuff. But yeah, and things like Ulamog, you can kind of like get rid of all the stuff. Counter the exile trigger to stop yourself losing lands or whatever it is, and then also counter the spell. And exile them all too, which is handy. 2 copies of Narset's Reversal, Authority of the Consuls, which also actually shuts down the Appraiser deck, because that's trying to kill you with creature damage. And then if you get to like shut them down that way and then Wrath over the top, then they don't have anything left in their library. And they're, well, creature-wise in terms of things that can kill you. And then 1 copy of Shard Typhoon. And that is it. We've seen like a fairly diverse number of decks. A few different variations and a few different decks in the top 8s from Azorius Control. A bunch of Phoenix. Absolutely no Greasefang. And a bunch of these new Geological Appraiser decks. It does look like Geological Appraiser, hey, it's a mana cheaper, has kind of overtaken Quintorius in terms of what actually did well, but we've also seen a bunch of different variations in terms of the different lists. And so we'll see how things progress. It is a 1-card combo, effectively. Hey, you can do it on turn 3. So, hey, we'll see how things pan out. We've not got any Pioneer RCQs or, like, big tournaments for a little while now, I think, so I don't know if they're going to make any changes. But, hey, see how things go. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hope you enjoyed the video. It has been a little bit long, but hopefully gone through a bunch of the kind of, like, best decks in Pioneer at the moment, and you can see some variations and different, like, interesting tweaks and things from different lists, too. Do have a bunch more stuff coming on the channel. Amalia combo should hopefully be out this weekend, and some more decks and stuff, especially with Cards of Tarkir coming out as well. We'll have a Khans video going through some of the best cards from that, and let me know as well if you're interested in watching some Khans Limited stuff, because that is one of my favourite Limited formats of all time. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please do like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and peace out. Thanks for watching.